Today's lesson is making a color wheel. This is number 15 in your journal. So um, the the reason for this activity is to just practice mixing colors. We've already talked about um, the um, how to mix the colors, etc. But now I actually want you to have some practice mixing. You can use different kinds of paints for this activity, but I do want you to use paint. And the other thing that I want to make sure that you do is only use the three primary colors to make your colors. I'm more interested in seeing your ability to mix colors than having the perfect color on the color wheel. So you're going to start out with your three primaries. I'm going to demonstrate using watercolor, but you may use acrylic if you like as well. Tempera maybe. I have had people do frosting. They did a cupcake color wheel and then photographed it. I also had someone do teacups one time, so feel free to experiment if you like, but I'm going to show you with watercolor. We have watercolor sets, look like this, and these are cake watercolors. Also have tube watercolors, and there are different kinds of blue. So for example, we've got ultramarine blue, I think I've got cobalt blue, I think I have one more kind. And depending on the brand name, these are Reeves, you're going to get different kinds of qualities of blues, and then that will affect your violets, etc. But it varies from brand to brand, so don't worry too much about making it just so. Same thing with red. There's a couple different reds we have in the tubes. If you want to use those, there's one that's called Brilliant Red, and the label looks more orange than the crimson. So here's a crimson red. So again, just pick a particular red, and I am not going to be very picky about whether I consider it the perfect red or not. Same thing, lemon yellow. Probably I wouldn't use that. It's probably not going to be strong enough. But there's a deep yellow. There's a medium yellow. There's a light yellow. Just pick three colors. So I'm going to choose crimson. And you may not get the best violets. You may not get the best violet's one of the hardest ones to mix. All right, but I'm going to choose three, and then what I'm going to do to kind of conserve on materials is my cake ones have been running out, but I'm going to use this and use the mixing tray here, and I'm going to add a little bit of that. I'm just going to put it right in these little holders for the paint. So I'm going to put some crimson in here. It's just a little quicker using the two colors. And then I will put yellow and this one. Which one did I pick? Medium yellow. Also, when you know the tubes, you know the toothpaste thing. Squeeze them from the bottom and then roll them up as you go. That's a kind thing to do. And then the blue, I've got a blue here. I think this is going to be a different blue, but I'm just going to put it in the blue holder. And that way, if you don't use it all, you can leave it there and it'll dry, but it can be wet again and use. You'll also need a cup of water, and you will want a rag to clean off your brushes. So, starting out, make that disappear. Okie doke. I'm going to go ahead and paint my basic colors. And I don't care what's at the top. Some people might. Here's my red. May or may not look red on the video because is red. And then I'm going to paint blue. Cleaning off my rag right now so I don't get the blue full of red. You can't see it, but I'm doing it. Here's the blue. This is the easy part. So these are just the pure colors. You might want to paint these and then cut them out later. So that allows for error. And now finally I'm going to do the yellow. And that's my first three colors, the primary colors. So obviously the next thing I'm going to have to do is mix my secondary colors. So I will do another triangle. Helps keep it straight. So here will be my violet. And I'll just label these red, blue, yellow. And this will be violet, blue, and yellow makes green, and then red and yellow makes orange. And you'll need to mix these colors and make sure that they're available for later when you need to do your tertiary colors or your intermediary colors. Oopsie, making a mess. All right, so I'm going to lay some yellow out here. I can mix it with the red. I'm also going to lay some yellow out here in a different place so I can mix it with the blue to get my secondary colors there. So I know I have to mix yellow twice with different colors. I'm just going to lay it out there so I don't have to clean my brush as much. I'm trying to be efficient here. And then I'll take some red. And I will lay it right here, and some red, and lay it right here. I probably should have put it over here, but never mind. I'm going to use lots of brushes right now to save filming time, save your time. I know you've got plenty to do. So here's some blue here. And some blue. I'll need some more blue. All right, so let's start with blue and red. And depending on the red you're using, depending on the blue you're using, you will get a certain qualitative violet. This may not show up very well. I know color doesn't show up with the camera I'm using, but right now it's pretty, it's a kind of a reddish violet, so I am going to mix some more blue in there and see if I can come up with a better violet. Yeah, this right here is already a better violet, so I'm going to add a little more red to that. And I think that's a pretty good in between red. It's got a little red, it's got a little violet. I'm going to go ahead and paint that. As I said, if your colors aren't perfect, that's okay. But I can tell whether or not you mixed it or whether you pulled it out of the... So it's more important that I see that you've made the effort to mix it, then you get it perfect. So if they're perfect, I'm going to probably be wondering whether or not you really mixed it or you just got one that was already mixed. Okay, now we're going to mix blue and yellow. I know that blue is going to be very powerful with the yellow. So I'm going to add just a little bit of blue to the yellow because it will tend to get green. And that was too little. And now I'm starting to do what I told you not to do, but do as I say, not as I do. And this is still kind of a yellow greenish, so now I need more blue. So I'm going to lay a little bit more blue out. It's not an exact science. That's why we call it art. This is a chromey brush because somebody didn't clean it. All right, so mix a little more blue in there. I'm conscious of time, so I'm doing what I tell you not to do. Is that a good green? Still a little yellowish. Let me see if I can. I don't think we're turquoise yet. I don't think I'm going to get a great green with this blue. Maybe I should use the cobalt. Anyway, I'm going to stop and go ahead and paint this. Like I said, doesn't have to be purple. Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be that perfect green. I think I picked a bad blue. I think if I had to do it over again, I'd try the cobalt. These are new colors. I haven't played around with them much. All right, and then finally we need to mix the red and yellow to get the orange. So, here we go. Red is going to be, yellow is always going to be a weaker color. And my brush is a little dirty, so I'm going to clean it again. So I would probably add a little bit of red at a time to the orange because it will, or to the yellow, because the yellow is going to be weaker than the red. And if I do it the other way around, I'll probably have to add more and more yellow. That is a pretty good orange, so I'm just going to go with that. And I can see there's a little color in my brush, so I'm polluting the colors. Okay, then finally you have to mix your tertiary colors. I've still got some blue or green. I've still got green in that brush, which is making my orange a little bit muddy. Okay, so then you need finally to do the intermediary colors. So make sure that you've held on to your secondary colors. And so your intermediary colors should come somewhere in between those colors that you just mixed. So where do I go from here? Well, here's my yellow green, or my yellow with a little bit of green mixed in it. So I think I've kind of already mixed the yellow green. I think I can use that. Let's see what happens. It's too green. It's too yellow. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of, and see I still got orange in my brush. So it's important to clean out your brushes more than I'm doing right now in this demonstration because I'm mixing red in, and what that does is it's going to make it kind of dull and brown and not a very good, do as I say, not as I do. A little more green in there, probably too much now. That's what happens when you try to take shortcuts. It's not too bad. Like I said, I'm kind of dulling the colors, and we're going to talk about that with intensity. But that is a yellow green. And my issue is I'm not taking time to clean my brush. Let that be a lesson to you. Okay, so here's my orange. I'm going to go and get a little more yellow. Mix that in. And I think that's enough there. You don't need a lot of paint, because you're just painting little patches. That's a good yellow-orange. Goes there. Then between orange and red, and my orange is pretty strong, so it might be a little tricky to mix the red-orange. But so I'm probably going to add the orange to the red. Let's do that. Or not. I'm going to change my mind constantly. I'm going to do what works. Maybe this color. Not a huge difference here. I mean, it's a little close. Maybe my orange could have been a little oranger, a little yellower to make that contrast. But I still have a contrast there. I'm not real happy with. I'd like a bigger jump between those two. And if I was sitting at my desk like you are, I would be working on that. Okay, now for the red violet, and I think I've got that right here. I think I already mixed it. I started that, so that's a very, you can see it's a big difference between the violet. And finally, my blue violet. Whoopsie, I'm being messy. All right, I forgot my blue-green, didn't I? I bet you sharp students out there saw that I skipped a color. Whoops. Gotta have a blue-green in there. All right, blue and violet. That means I have to add more blue to the violet that I already mixed. And it has to not be blue, but not violet. I think this will work. Yep. I can see the difference. And again, you may not be able to see it. I'll leave this example. You'll see it. It'll be in the notebook if you want to look at it. Okay, finally, last but not least, blue-green, everybody's favorite color. Sometimes called turquoise or teal. Those would be some names it might be called. Here's my green. Pushing some blue in there. And hopefully this will do. Yep, that works. All right. So your color wheels will vary based on the colors that you use. If you use acrylic, you'll get a different thing. But this is what you want to end up with. Now, presentations. Let me show you real quickly some examples of some that have gone before you. Here's one that I did a long time ago in a book, and the book just had Jake on it, and so I decided just for my examples to do J's. I did it rather rapidly. These look a little weak, but overall, that would be one example. Another one that I did one time in the book was I used the letters. You can see that I'm my little recording thing in the way. So there I've used the letters for my images. This one is done by a student, and they put in a blackboard kind of background, and then they cut this out, so it's kind of a pop-up kind of thing, which I thought was very creative. Here's another one that I did directly into the book, and you could do it, you know, if it doesn't work out, most of you have enough pages, you can cut it out. So I did flower petals for that one. And then here's one. I believe the student used acrylic, I'm not sure, but they used a CD, so they painted on the CD. And then don't forget about the cupcakes. I should have an example of that, but I don't right now. Also the teacups. I'll probably try and get examples of those and have them on my notebook. So that is assignment 15.